Welcome back to A Moment in History. I'm Seth Udinsky. "We like Ike" was a popular phrase in 1950s America. Now, why is that, you may ask? Well, in the 1950s, America was enjoying a time of prosperity and victory in the years immediately following World War II. Though the threat of communism remained, the nation maintained a spirit of optimism, and the man at the helm was a popular war hero who really encompassed the spirit of prosperity as the leader of the free world. He was actually the former Supreme Commander of the Allied forces in World War II and would serve as the 34th President of the United States, Dwight D. Eisenhower, known of course by his nickname Ike. Ike was born in the year 1890 in Texas. Now, much like the military men turned politicians who came before him in American lore, such as George Washington, Eisenhower made a name for himself in the military sphere. He rose up in the ranks of the U.S. Army as a young man, and by World War II, he was a high-ranking commander, not just in America, but really on the international stage as well. His greatest claim to fame, of course, was his elevation to Supreme Commander of the Allied forces during the final years of the war. Now, it was under Ike's leadership that thousands of Allied soldiers stormed the beaches of Normandy in 1944 and set Europe free from Nazi Germany over the next several months. Eisenhower was a brilliant and beloved military commander, and his brilliance was a key factor in the Allied victory in World War II. And he was, of course, beloved as a war hero in the nation, and it was not long before that citizens were calling his name to take the leadership of the nation following the end of Truman's term in the early 1950s. Ike was elected by a wide margin in the 1952 election and won again in 1956. During his 8 years in office, he was the poster child of American exceptionalism and a peace through strength policy that really came to define not only his administration, but the administrations of others to follow, such as Ronald Reagan a couple generations later. Now, Eisenhower personally went through some trials during his time in office. Before his second run for office began, he actually had a heart attack and spent several weeks in the hospital. But still, he maintained a high level of strength and leadership during a rather tense time in the nation's history. He was able to keep the forces of communism at least in check on the world stage and also fostered prosperity back home. Eisenhower lived out his final years at his estate in Gettysburg, which is interesting enough for this little town. It gave it kind of a second claim to fame after, of course, its bloody battle during the American Civil War. Eisenhower died in 1969 at the age of 78. Thanks so much for joining me once again for A Moment in History.